I think everyone to some extent has some form of depression. And it's because their life isn't what they wanted. It's not what they expected. Maybe work isn't going well. Maybe their finances aren't where they'd like to be. Or they see successful people. They wish that they had it. What's different with the people that are happier is
So what's going on, everybody? So on today's show, we have none other than Fernando Rojas. Thank you for coming on, bro.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So this is your first time doing a podcast. You do a lot of video, teachings and stuff like that on your own, but first podcast is correct?
Yes.
So hopefully we do good service for everybody.
I think you're gonna set the bar really high, just based on looking around the room and what I see. I think the first thing I want to say is most people don't realize what they've got when they're here.
Yeah.
Right. Because I know how much all this stuff costs, and the amount that you guys have invested in this. I don't know. It just helps me feel like you guys take it seriously. I've seen a lot of people that do something similar, and you're usually at home on like a different setup, right? The camera might be like a webcam. I'm looking at glass in everywhere that I look, right? And that's 3 cameras, full frame, it looks like, from what I could tell. People just don't realize how much that stuff is. The lighting. But you guys are setting the bar pretty high.
We're trying. Yeah, most people can't see because they only see the clips or, the shorts or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, these rooms, a decent small podcast room like this is, 20, 30 G's, to build out and buy the equipment, all that stuff.
Yeah, especially with the cameras. I mean,
yeah, the camera and the lenses, cameras and lenses. Lenses, any kind of lens, a small lens is a grand
minimum. Yeah, I think, and depending on the company that makes them, like I know most of the Sony lenses are probably close to 1,000 to, the 70 to 200 mil lens is 2,900 right now. Before tax.
That's that white one?
That's the white one. That's the one where you're in the back of the room and you just zoom in.
And perfect shot.
And you're counting people's, follicles on their head.
Antonio keeps trying to get me to buy that one. We got several different cameras, and depending on, if we're doing shots or small videos or, yeah, I'm glad to have you here, bro. Like, we've interacted on Instagram and on social media and stuff like that. And mm-hmm. I know you're doing good things, and so I figured you could come and bring a different take. You're in that IT world, that tech world.
Yeah.
But before we get into what you're actually doing, I just want to know a little bit about, your upbringing. I think you were born in Michigan.
Yeah.
How was it like? You're right now you're professional. How was it like as a kid with your parents? Can you take us back that way?
Yeah. So I was born in Dearborn, Michigan, at Henry Ford Hospital.
Henry Ford.
Yeah. So I was born there, but we lived in Detroit. I kind of lived there for 13 years before we moved. But it was, I don't want to say it was hard. I want to say it was different. There's what's interesting is, so like today, if I were to give you my address, it was 8119 East Logan, Detroit, Michigan, 48209. That's the address.
Yeah.
If you look that house up today, it is gone. It was burned down. So my parents bought the house before I was born. And I want to say they bought it for like $17,000, maybe 18 or 19.
Was the neighborhood like one of those trash neighborhoods, like that you see on TV and stuff?
Yeah.
Ghetto.
Yeah. Everything bad about a place like Detroit was what this neighborhood was.
Okay.
We were good kids in the neighborhood. There was an alleyway I'd ride my bike through. There was, I had friends down the road that we'd hang out with. But every couple houses, there wasn't a house. And the reason there wasn't a house was because they were burned down. A lot of times, people would just take fire bombs and just cocktail a house, and then maybe to get the house next door. But there was a street 2 blocks away called Callahan, and Callahan like had 5 houses on it.
They're all burnt down.
All the rest were burned down.
That's crazy. So the retaliate, so the gang violence or whatever. So instead of like in Phoenix, they used to do, for California, do a lot of drive-bys, right? So in Detroit, you're like, they just go burn your damn house down.
Yeah. Or so what was really interesting is they would tear a house down if they knew that nobody lived there. The aluminum siding.
Yeah.
They would rip it off. And
Who would
scrap
rip it off?
Anyone that wanted money.
Oh, like homeless people and
anyone,
scrappers and all that. So so if the house is empty, they're going and just taking everything off the house.
Yeah. So think of it like they would pull down the siding, then they would rip out the pipe, the copper pipe.
Yeah,
sell and then it. They would take that,
recycle it. The crackheads.
Everyone.
So you were doing it too?
No.
You said everyone. You're like, yeah, I'm getting that pipe, bro.
Yeah. Everyone. I had to make money, right? But this was back when you could take a plastic bottle to like the Kroger's or the grocery stores, and you would return them.
Yeah,
or the cans, like you would get 10 cents. I mean, I'm sure you remember, like you'd take a bag of trash of bottles, like Coca-Cola bottles or whatever bottle, and you return them for 10 cents a piece.
Yeah.
Or the cans were 5 cents.
Yeah.
Right. That's how, I started making money as a kid, was doing stuff like that. My parents would buy the stuff. I'd put it in a bag and they'd take me, and then that was that. So, but the entire neighborhood was gone. Right. And what was worse was there was actually a bar on the corner. I don't know the name of it.
Hey, does the neighborhood still look like that now?
No, the bar is gone.
No, but like, is there a new building there, or is it just all empty?
It's all grass lot.
Oh wow!
So you can't. It doesn't look like it did 20 years ago when we were there. 25 years ago when I lived there. But the houses are still the same, right? No one's bought the land and then built on it. It's just the same homes that are 100 years old, that
are spread apart by burnt houses, the empty lots.
Yeah.
So there's like 4 houses empty lot, 5 houses empty lot.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, and so our house next to it was an empty lot, and my dad bought the land, and he kind of fenced it in, and that was where we played. So it was,
that's cool.
It was house, but ours was house lot, and then the neighbor's house. So we had like a mini football field. Or at least it seemed like it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
A mini football field next to our house that we'd play in. And in the back, we had a garden. So, we would grow stuff like broccoli and strawberries and all these other things. But it was, it's different times, man. I think my favorite part about it was we got to experience things that a lot of people haven't, in terms of like the violence. There was one night where I was sleeping, and in my dream, I heard a guy screaming. And then I woke up and realized that there was actually a guy outside running down the street getting shot at.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And my room was actually on the second floor with the windows facing the street.
So how old do you think you were at this time?
Probably 12.
So 12 years old. So you're like dreaming, but it's real life stuff. The violence all around you. Yeah.
And it wasn't every day. Like I don't want to say that it was terrible, but
it was enough to scare you.
Yeah, I think the first time I got robbed was with my babysitter. She actually lived.
She robbed you?
No.
No,
she took care of us, but she would. So she lived a few blocks away, and the school that we went to was maybe a 5-minute walk from her house, and my parents would drop us off. My brother and myself and my sister, and then she would walk us to school.
Yeah.
And there was one morning where she was walking us, and there was a guy that came out of like an alley with a knife, and he just robbed us.
Like, you just give me what you got.
Yeah. We didn't have anything.
Yeah.
I'm like 10 years old. What do you
That had to be scary though, right?
Yeah.
You don't know what to think.
No, I mean, I think he got my Trapper Keeper. He got my, whatever my lunchbox was, and my babysitter never had money on her.
Yeah.
So I think he got something from her, and this was at a time when cell phones weren't really a thing.
Oh well, no, yeah. So you had pagers,
if that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think that far back.
So at this time, this was back when they had the Motorola pagers, right? Because one of my teachers had one, right, and she would always get messages on it. So
Yeah, pagers were back. Well, you're a little younger than me, so yeah, I would have had a pager probably by then.
yeah, so
Maybe even a phone. I think I got a phone when I was like 17. I think my first phone, right before I turned 18. So that's like 98, 97, 98.
okay.
So
Well,
you were
it was around the same time, but
Yeah.
I was nowhere
You were a kid.
ready for a phone. I
Yeah, you were a
was
kid.
I was in either 4th or 5th grade.
Do you remember the pagers though? Did you ever have a pager?
Never.
Did you see them though? You remember they would put like hello upside down, or like it was like 43770 or whatever. Like you could spell words and then you turn it upside down and it's like spelled the word. Like you put the
Yeah. People did that with calculators too.
Yeah. But that's how. So we would do it like with the pagers, and you put like different messages and different encrypted things, and then turn it a certain way or whatever, and they got the message like it's a secret, whatever.
Yeah. So I never had a pager. And my dad had one, but we never really used it. What we did instead was collect calls. 1-800-COLLECT, right down the center. Remember 1800C?
Yeah.
Collect. And what we would do is we would call, and then we would do the, hey, come pick me up already. Right? Or like that. You have a call from, and then the call from would be the message, and then the other person, like my dad, wouldn't accept it, but he would know it's time to pick us up. Or
Was that like at your friends you're collecting from them, or from the phone that was outside at the store?
payphones.
Yeah.
So when they actually had payphones that
With the phone book?
yeah, that you could walk up to,
Yeah.
the little booths,
Yeah.
we would go up to those and 1-800-COLLECT, and then my parents would know that if they ever got a collect call, it was probably coming from my brother.
It's like a $4 call.
At least,
Yeah.
or more. I think it was like $2 to connect plus whatever their
time, huh?
Their time was. But for us, we just hey,
Come get me.
yeah, and you don't say hey, it's me. It's like hey, I'm ready to go, and they know that they know who's calling, right? So that's how we didn't have a phone but still made phone calls.
So I remember like when I was younger, I was go to the Circle K down the street, and they had the phone. Everywhere there was a payphone, and then if you were talking on the phone, you put your quarters down. If you're on the phone and you're like 7 quarters, that's how long you're gonna talk. Or a video game. Right? Yeah. You like put the stack of quarters, like, hey,
10 seconds left.
And everybody knows if there's a stack, they gotta wait till the stack goes out. That's kind of like the respect thing.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Now you just have a card that's preloaded with money, and you don't know when the stack runs out now because
some people, the stack never runs out. They don't even have the money, and they still have the money.
Yeah.
They put the credit card down and they don't even have the cash.
Yeah, and nowadays they let you buy $100 at a time. So, 75 cents a swipe or whatever it is now, it's like someone could be there for a couple hours.
Yeah. Well, you can buy all kinds of things for free. Not necessarily free, but you don't have to have the money, because a lot of stuff is like buy now, pay later, and people don't even pay it, and their credit just gets dinged and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they just give money, like almost, it feels like it's for free if you're not paying it back, but a lot of people don't pay it back.
Really?
Yeah. You figure a lot of people ruin so think about it, especially people that are not savvy and trying to be a better person. I don't want to knock anybody, but they're giving them, they give you a credit card. It happens a lot. Hey, go buy this. Here's some cash to have now.
Yeah.
Here's $700. Pay me later. And they're like, they're going to go and use that money. And they're like, I don't know if I want to pay those guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then so now they got bad credit. The company just charges it off. Mm-hmm. But the kid is like screwed for a couple of years.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever not paid a bill that I'm aware of, right? But I could see how if you got $1,000 for free.
You know what I mean? Like they think it's free, like, and the creditors and those things, they go after the young ones because, again, they're making, not too much money. Some are making good money, but most kids are not making that good of money yet, And then they go and get this buy now, pay later thing, or this credit card or whatever it is. And then they're like, oh, or they do pay it. You start paying it, but it's like you pay like $2 a month for, 20 years, or, I'm exaggerating, but.
Yeah, no, what's really interesting about credit cards is I used to work at a bank, and when I worked at the bank, they give you the rates, right?
Yeah.
So when I worked at this bank, I applied for probably my second or third credit card at the time, and I have it almost 15, 20 years later.
Yeah.
However long it's been, and it was a prime plus a quarter point. So if you were to actually get a credit card today from any of these major banks, you're going to notice that the rate is
I'm looking them up right now.
It's like 16
That's higher.
to 25, right? And so this was back in probably 2006. The card that I had was a prime plus a quarter point. So my rate was 6%.
That's pretty good.
And I still have that card.
Oh, that's good.
And here's the best part. It's still tied to me working at the bank.
Oh, that's cool.
So
You get the perks.
yes. So that card is kind of like if I ever want to buy something and I just want to not pay it off or just leave it there or know that it's something that I don't want to pay off immediately, I can use that card and it's like $5 a month or $10 a month.
Yeah, if you get in a jam. Mm-hmm. So average credit card rates as of March 2024 is 24.37%. So anyone that uses the credit card and pays the minimum, that's where they get whacked. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, because that's 25% a year, right? So they're on the total balance, they're paying at least 2% a month, right? So you figure have $1,000 on your car, you're spending $20 a month.
Yeah, but it's compounds. It becomes a lot. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
When I was younger, it was like 18%. I remember 16, 18, like the high ones, you know. Mm-hmm. But 25% is a lot to pay, you know, especially if you draw it out because they want you to draw it out.
Yeah. Well, that's just a regular credit card.
Yeah.
Right. The worst are the ones that are like the department stores. Right. You get I don't have any of these. I had one a long time ago from like Jared.
Oh, jewelry.
Like a jewelry store.
Yeah.
And it was at least 30%.
Oh, wow.
33% profit.
They're like, hey, you want my diamonds? You're going to have to pay.
Yeah. So what they do is, you know, they probably make more money on Valentine's Day than anyone else, like the jewelry stores, because they offer these credit cards where they're going to hit you. They're going to say, hey, you know, 6 months of no payments.
That's what I mean. Buy now, pay later.
Right. But what happens is their rate on that, you know, most people are like, oh, it's free money. And then when that 6 months hits, they get whacked with a 35 or 40% rate.
Yeah, right. Boom. It all comes up.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of them, if you're ever late, the default rate is even higher. So, you know, you're at 25% today, but you pay late or 30 days late, or, you know, you miss a payment on accident.
Yeah.
The rate jumps.
They want you to miss it.
Of course.
Yeah. Why? It's a business.
Yeah. Right.
If I was in the banking world too, I'd be the same way.
Yeah. So that's the other thing too, is when I was working at the bank, this happened all the time, where the mortgage would come in and then 5 transactions would come in, right? And which one got paid first? The one that overdrew your account.
Yeah.
So a lot of times there'd be people that come in, and at the time the rate was like, or the fee was like $18. So you would overdraft on your mortgage, right? And then they would hit you with 4 or 5 fees afterwards. Whereas if they would have done 4 of the smaller fees
and had one, the big one, yeah,
you would have gotten 1 fee, right?
Yeah.
And you know, they've been sued ever since, and they don't, as far as I know, they don't operate the same way. But when I was there at the bank, the wording was, what was it? It was, we expect that your house is your most important payment that needs to be made, so we pay that first.
Yeah.
And the outcome was that's what overdrew your account, and then the bank ended up making all this money on fees.
All the fees off the smaller.
Whereas if it was 4 small fees, you would have had enough money. So let's say you had $2,000 in your account and you had 50, 50, 50, 50.
Yeah.
And another 50. So you had $200 come out and your mortgage was $2,200, right? What would happen is you'd go negative 200, get a fee, and then you get 4 more fees for those 50. Mm-hmm. Whereas if they were to pay the 50 first, you would have gotten
one fee. Yeah.
So you get 5 fees versus 1.
There's a lot of people that get a ton of fees every month. Like, mm-hmm. That's how they operate. You know what I mean? Like, they're floating so much, and you know they're getting $300, $500, $600 worth of fees just because they're floating. When all they have to do is slow it down a little bit, and you know really count their money and manage it properly. Mm-hmm. You know, you're wasting $400, $500, $600 a month in fees when you can actually have that back, and that'll actually take the stress off. But they're going too fast with not enough.
Yeah. I think it's maybe culturally that's just the thing.
Spend.
Yeah. It's me spend. You know, I've been guilty of spending a lot.
We all
of money.
have. We all have.
I've spent all kinds of money on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and now as you get older, it's just like it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I mean, it's nice to have this or nice to have that, but you kind of realize as you get older that those things don't matter as much as, you know, maybe say family,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Or having friends, right? And the one thing that my wife always tells me is, you know, you can't, she's told me plenty of times that I'll be old with a bunch of stuff and no one around me, right?
That you will be old with a bunch of stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's, she doesn't mean it in a bad way. I think what she means is, for a good period of my life, I focused on work and
Yeah.
I focused on making money and I focused on doing things.
So self-driven. Like you're more focused on yourself and what you were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
We'll say very selfish.
No, I was gonna say it, but I didn't want to say it.
Yeah. And it's, I think I've gotten a lot better.
Dude, we all have been. I'm selfish still now. There's like different parts of my life and different days where I'm like super selfish.
Mm-hmm.
There's days where I'm too selfless.
Yeah. It's about a blend, right? I think it's you either have to be or not be, but that you can't be all of one or all of the other.
Well, once you're all of one, you're giving up something. Like when you're too selfish, usually you sacrifice your family for self, like, you know what I mean, what it is you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think, like, since we're talking about this, is I think you still have to be some sort of, like, you still have to have a form of selfishness inside of you
Yeah.
to be able to want to succeed in life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're like, I gotta do this and I gotta do it for me. But once you have a family, even though you're the one that's like in the front, you know, you're the face of it, you know, you're the breadwinner, whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're totally doing it for your family, right? Because they're reaping the rewards.
Yeah.
But you're the one that gets the kudos, so that's the selfishness. Like, but if you don't do it, then freaking, you're toast.
Yeah. I think you have to be selfish. It's like a fine line.
Yeah.
You have to be selfish enough to be able to be successful, but if you tip over and you spill into the wrong side, you end up kind of not alienating people, but leaving people behind instead of bringing them with you, right? And for me, a lot of that came down to, you know, family related stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, I had to get forced to go to events for my kids, right?
And you have 2 kids.
Yeah.
How old are they?
8 and 10.
Okay.
And, you know, at the time, I justified it and said, well, I'm working so that way they can have.
Yeah.
Right. Meanwhile, my wife was in the background dealing with my kids saying, you know, is dad coming today?
Yeah.
Or is dad going to be here? And the answer was usually no. And now, you know, they're older. And, you know, as you get older, as the kids get older, they start picking up on things. And then they've had it where within the last few years, they've even said like, hey, well, I'm not going to bother telling dad because we know he's not going to go anyways.
Yeah. There's a saying that's more is caught than taught.
No.
But the kids, they catch it all. You can teach them and tell them whatever the hell you want to tell them, but they see it. They're smart. They're super smart, right? Especially at the young age.
Yeah, they definitely pick up on people's tendencies, right, and what they expect from people, and it's almost like you set the expectation with them, and they just know what to expect, right, going down the line, and eventually it kind of gets to the point where you realize that when your kids don't expect you to do certain things because you choose work over family,
Yeah.
that it kind of like hits you.
It makes you feel like crap. 'Cause you're like, damn, no, I totally get it.
Not even crap. I think you just feel like a failure.
Yeah.
Right? Because from one perspective, you do all these things and you say, well, you justify it by doing these for your kids. But then your kid's perspective is he's just doing it. Right? And they don't think about, you know, oh, we get to have all these different things because dad did this.
Yeah.
they just look at it as, well, dad is doing that because that's more important to him, which isn't the case, right? But it's that, and that's why it's that fine line where it's, you want to do well to provide, but you don't want to focus on it too much that you end up having people feel like they get left behind.
Yeah. I think that's the hard part of like being an entrepreneur. You know, that's where people don't, you know, I've seen a lot of people start businesses. I've been in business like 15 years now or something. And they struggle. And especially if they're, you know, I've seen different struggles. I've seen struggle where they don't go to their family at all. Mm-hmm. Some struggle where they can't operate in the business because they're so used to being with the family. You know, the wife, the husband, the kids, like everything, soccer practice, basketball practice. Then they can't successfully be in the business. You know what I mean? So I've seen all these things, and so I always tell people, like, you have to know what you want in life. Mm-hmm. And I don't care what anyone says. If you're gonna like operate at a higher level in business, you will sacrifice something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like the success, it's operating at a higher level. You will give, like, if you operate at a higher level, that means you went from 8 hours to 10 hours, from 10 hours to 12 hours. You know what I mean? So now every time you're doing more, you're giving up something. Mm-hmm. I mean, and like you said, is you give it the time with your kids, the time with your spouse. Mm-hmm. So I always tell people when they talk to me about wanting to start a business, or they're just starting a business, or like, you will lose time with your family, and it does suck. My kids are older, and I went through the same thing. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I did go to every school event, all of them, but they were never in like sports. They were never in all these different things, mm-hmm. because we were so busy. We were in the business and the church, and we're so busy that it was all about that. Right.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, like, I hear things now from my kids, like, you weren't there when I was 6, whatever. I'm like, shit, I was there. But in their mind, they're like, the hell you were? You were gone for 16 hours. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I was there for 8. And they're like, no, you were sleeping, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then in my mind, I'm like, well, you have this, that, this, that. None of the shit matters. But then you got to think about, like, well, does it matter? Does it not matter? Because you're giving your kids a life that you never had, which could be bad. But do you really want your kids to suffer?
No. I think everyone means well with what they do and the choices that I don't think people maliciously try and hurt others, right, with the decisions that they make. But sometimes people get hurt, and that's just how it goes sometimes, right? Is kids will probably feel left out to some extent, right? Or a spouse might feel left out, or your friends might feel left out. Like, mm-hmm. The interesting thing about life is there's always a winner, there's always a loser. There's always a loser. Yeah. Right. And when you're winning, it's great. When you're losing, you kind of get bitter. And I think every choice that you make will always have a winner and a loser in life. And a lot of times it could be clients winning time with you, where you're helping them do stuff, or you're going to an event for them, or you're doing something with them. So they win, and then family loses. Yeah. Yeah. And that's just, I mean, they say, business is business, right? Someone wins and someone has to win and someone has to lose. It's never a tie.
No, it's true what you're saying. It's, I remember we were going through something with one of my daughters, and my wife had made a statement, and, cause I was really upset, and she goes, are we going to go down this road? Because yeah, we'll win, but that means she loses. Mm-hmm. And it's true what you're saying is, especially like I always say everything's a negotiation. When right now we're negotiating when to talk, you're negotiating your time, what to do. You're like, when I say that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you have to give up something to do something else. And someone has to, like you said, in order to win, whatever it is, the contract or the price increase or the sale, someone's losing, like you said.
Yeah.
They think they're winning.
Well, that's just sales. Everyone, everyone always says, I don't like sales. I will never be a salesperson.
Yeah.
But what they maybe don't think about or fail to realize is there's every aspect of their life is a sale.
Yeah.
Right. And it could be as simple as what you're going to wear, right? What you're going to eat.
Yeah, because they're all heavy decisions.
Yeah, what you're gonna do that day, or who you're gonna spend time with.
Yep.
Right. So people always say, I can never do sales. Oh, sales is terrible. Right. Well, it's like your entire life is a sale. Every decision you make, there's a winner and there's a loser.
Yeah, because even then, like even in a normal job, you got to sell yourself. You got to sell your abilities if you want to raise.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially nowadays with so many people, being laid off, even in the tech world, it's, they have now you go on LinkedIn and you see those green banners, right?
Open for work or open to work or whatever.
Open to work. Yeah. And there's so many people that have that. Of them. And there's a lot of really good people, right? That are in that position. And I think what helps them get out of that is their ability to sell what they can offer, because or who they know that can help establish them with a new place, like a new home. So if you're not good at, we'll say, tooting your own horn in a good way, right? Yeah. No one likes a horn, horn tooter or whatever, like someone just blowing their horn about how awesome they are. But if you're able to have relationships with people that want to support you and that believe in what you do, you'll find yourself in a job a lot faster than someone that doesn't have that.
Yeah.
But you can't have those supporters until they know what you can do.
Yeah.
And the only way that people know what you can do is they have to see what you can do or hear about it. And how do they do that? You have to tell them. Yeah.
Yeah. So you think like, what you're saying is kind of in line with like what I like to talk about and stuff like that, because it really boils down to if you're selling yourself, you have to have the confidence in your own abilities, right? The one who lacks confidence is not the good salesman, right? Mm-hmm. So I used to always say like, man, I'll never be a salesman. Exactly what you're saying when I was younger. And then as I got into the business, I'm like, well, I am selling. Mm-hmm. It just looks different. I'm just not going door to door.
Yeah.
Right. And so I realized like I got to maintain my confidence no matter if I'm doing good, bad, how I look, how I act, whatever. I got to maintain a confidence because I got to keep selling who I am and what I do, right? Because if I want to get paid the best, I need to become the best. In order to become the best, I have to think, right? That the thought process has to be like, I can become the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So confidence and the lack of confidence confidence will either make you, and lack of confidence can totally break you.
Yeah. If you don't believe in yourself, as I'm looking at yourself on the wall, it says challenge yourself.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't believe in yourself enough, you'll probably fail.
I agree. I totally agree.
You almost have to be crazy.
I agree.
Right. You have to have, well, we'll just say you have to be crazy, because if you're not crazy, you kind of just fall in with the pack. Right?
Yeah, because you're going to get beat up, you're going to get battered. Mm-hmm. In business, you're going to get stolen from, you're going to get lied to, you're going to get cheated, you're going to get your family that's disappointed in you because you're working so much, right? So you're getting beat up from everywhere.
Yeah.
You have to be, I tell people like same thing is like, I'm kind of jacked up, and you have to be able to put up with all the crap.
Yeah. Especially in business. I think, a lot of people say business is business.
Yeah.
And I hate hearing that.
Okay.
And the reason I don't like hearing that is because it's almost like an excuse for people not to be good people.
It's true.
Because they justify it and say, well, business is business.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, you just burned me, right? Or you just stole this from me, or you just did this, or you just did that. And the justification is, well, it's just business.
Yeah.
Nothing personal, man. I love you as a person.
It's okay. It's just business that I stole from you.
Yeah, but it's business. And what you'll find is that some of the people that, that you care about, or that you trust, or that maybe you trust more than you should have, when it comes down to the dollar.
Yeah.
There's a winner and there's a loser.
Yeah.
And
do you think, sorry to cut you off, do you think like people make those excuses or those you know, where it's just business or whatever? Because you hear like, you think that goes back into their lack of confidence and their abilities, because you also hear like, I don't need that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need that. I don't need to have all that money. I don't need to have those cars. I don't need to have that purse. And it's like, well, you don't need it because you can't afford it, because you don't want to even work hard. Because if you did, you could be like, you know what, I'd like to have that. Let me work a little harder.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are okay with, and I don't want it to sound negative, but we'll say average, right?
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. So when I got out of school, I went to school to be an engineer, right? And the reason I did that.
What school?
ASU.
ASU.
I went to ASU, and I went there for engineering. And the whole idea was I wanted to be a doctor, right?
So you went for engineering, but you wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah. So the one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that to get into med school, you don't have to be pre-med. You can be anything. You could be an arts major.
Okay.
Right. And so my girlfriend at the time, her dad was a professor at ASU, like nuclear physics, probably one of the smartest guys I've ever met. And we were talking one day and he told me, he said, look, if you're going to go to med school, that's great. But if you need a backup plan, the best thing you can do is be an engineer, because engineers change the world. Engineers are the reason that the world becomes better. Without the engineers, nothing progresses. Mm-hmm. Right. And he said, worst case scenario, say it doesn't work out for you for schooling, for med school. At least you have an engineering degree, and you're going to make $50,000 to $100,000 out of college.
Yeah.
And at the time, it's like, wow, that's great, you know? So I did it. And when I got out, I think I started somewhere between 50 to 70,000.
So you graduated?
Graduated in 2010.
Was it with bachelor's? What'd you get?
Bachelor's in engineering, yeah. Bioengineering. So it was more so a focus on medical devices and design, and some mechanical, but less mechanical. More so, we'll say like 3D modeling and how to bring products to market.
Okay.
And then so when I got my first job out of college, I was making like close to 70,000 a year. And at the time, it's like, this is great. And I remember my boss, he was a professional engineer, a PE. So the highest level engineer you could ever get in your career is a PE. You get a stamp, you become legally liable for a lot of different things based on what you design and what you provide.
Okay.
Right. And he sat next to me for, 3 or 4 years. So I learned all kinds of nuggets from him. But I remember one day he told me, at some point you're going to make really good money, and you'll be like me and you'll make $120,000 a year. And I thought, wow, 120,000, that's great.
Yeah.
And I was excited. And, so I went from 70 to thinking 120 was possible. And then you get into tech sales and you realize that 120,000, you can make that in a month.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Realistically. And I work with people that did, right. In a year, most people don't realize that people in tech sales, account executives, or account directors, they make more than doctors. Mm-hmm. So as a society, we look at doctors and lawyers as the pinnacle of success. But there's a lot of salespeople making way more than those.
There's a lot of people that make. Yeah, I think that's an old school theory, huh? Right, the doctors and lawyers.
Yeah,
it's a good profession.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like some surgeons make a shit ton of money.
Yeah,
they're in the millions.
Yeah, there's people. There's it's a percentage, right? There's a very small percentage that make that over the 7 figures.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more people making 6 figures in tech than people realize.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are in sales.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of them are just the salespeople that kind of connect the dots for their clients. So when you're in school and you're thinking engineering is the route, make more money than most people, right? You do really well. You do it for a few years. You're making over 100,000. Like, you've made it in life. And then you meet people like my friend, that does his Amazon business.
Yeah.
Right. And he knows people. Like we went to an event in Vegas a couple weeks ago for Amazon, And we're hanging out with these people, and they're talking about buying properties for $200 million.
Nice.
You know, they're talking about buying businesses. They're talking about someone that they know is selling different products on Amazon, making $3 million a month in profit. That's not top line, like profit.
Yeah, that's good.
And it kind of opened your eyes to there's a lot more out there than you realize.
Yeah.
And for the people that say that they don't want the nice things, I almost feel like it's not that they don't want it, it's they don't know people that are doing it.
Yeah.
And until you sit across from someone that's worth, you know, $100 million or $200 million, and you talk to them about what they do, you kind of realize that they're just like you.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like me. They're just people. And maybe they're wired a little bit differently, but they've taken the right steps to get to a point where they're worth that much. And it's not that they don't want the nice things. They just happen to want a little bit more. And they happen to know the right people to help bring them along and help push them.
Yeah.
So whenever I hear people say, oh, you know, I would never spend my money on that. It's like, you would if you could.
You would if you could.
I bet you would.
Yeah.
If your situation was different, you'd find a way to spend the money.
Oh, you would? No, everybody would. I don't care who it is. Yeah. Maybe you say, okay, well, I won't buy that $5,000 purse. Well, if you had 20 million in your bank account, you would.
Yeah.
Because people are like, not if I had a million. Well, a million's nothing. But if you had 20 million, what would you do? If you had 50 million or 100 million?
You do a lot more than you think you would.
Oh, you'd start doing all of it.
Yeah. So one of the guys that I met in Vegas, he drives, or he doesn't drives, he flies private on his own jet that he rents. Right? So he pays a fee to fly.
Yeah.
And it costs him a lot of money. Well, why don't you just get a first class ticket? Well, why would I? If I could fly private.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, if you can afford it, right? It's all irrelevant. If you can, it's no different than someone affording a $800 car payment because that's all they can afford, right? And he's just he's like, this is my $800 car payment. It just happens to be a private jet, you know. Happens to be 10 G's or whatever.
But when you don't know people like that, or you haven't met those people in your life that kind of show you what becomes possible, you kind of just expect that doing well at 100,000 a year or 200,000 a year is like the pinnacle. And then you meet these people and you're just like, they make more in 1 month than I've made in an entire year. And then the crazy part is they know people that at scale or relative to their position to you, they're meeting people that are making 10 or $15 million a month.
Yeah.
And so it becomes like this like jumping ladder where you jump from where your perceived ceiling of success is to more, but you can't do that if you don't know the people that are doing it.
Yeah. I think we got to be open to, one is to believing we can do more, but open to like the possibility. And, you know, I remember cause I grew up, you know, kind of in the hood and, you know, we would say, you know, Scottsdale. We would say, we never even went to, like, when I was younger, I lived in Maryville. We went like 4 square miles or something. It was it, you know? We never even went to Scottsdale. And we're over here talking crap about people in Scottsdale. We're talking about crap about everybody, right? And just because we weren't exposed to it, you know, they're the enemy, you know, they're like an alien or something, or someone who's wealthy. Oh, they're filthy rich, you know, and it's like, you're just like, why don't you just go meet that filthy rich person? He's probably a really nice person, he or she. Yeah. And they'll probably give you some really good nuggets to help you get on your way.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I've met a lot of people over the last couple of years, a lot of really successful people. And the one thing that I never thought about is when you're successful, you almost want to help other people be successful.
You do.
But here's the catch.
Usually not in their arena though.
No. Not in the arena. But in the business world, if you're successful, you want other people to be successful. But you don't pick and choose who that person is. What it usually comes down to, what I've seen, is the people that ask for help. Right? If there's one thing about someone that wants to do better but doesn't try. Yeah. And someone that wants to do better and ask for help. Yeah. And I think, you know, what I've seen is the people that I've met, when you say, hey, like, I'm interested in how you did that because I want to do something similar.
Mm-hmm.
They'll talk with you for hours. They'll make time to talk with you about how they became successful or what they did that was different. And they'll happily spend an entire day with you.
Yeah.
Just to teach you. But what they won't do is they won't take the time out of their day to find someone and help them.
No.
You have to go to them.
Yeah.
And ask.
Totally agree.
But once you ask someone, an entire day could be spent talking to them.
Well, you're gonna learn. We have to be open to the possibility. It's. I remember this. I've told this story before. I went to a. So I'm mostly known for the drywall company. And so I went to this seminar, I guess it would be called.
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably 7-8 years ago now, maybe 8 years. And so it's all drywall companies, and we're in Colorado Springs. We got it was a week-long thing, all paid, everything's paid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was probably 30 companies maybe or whatever. And so I'm nervous. Felicity, my wife, went with me, and we're small. And I start meeting people. I think we're doing like 2 million or 3 million or whatever it was. And they're like, I was like, oh, what, how large is your company? What size is your company? And they're like, oh, we do 100 million, we do 200 million, we do 400 million. I'm like, holy geez. So yeah, you hear the numbers, but then when you meet people in your own industry, like you're saying, people that are like doing way, and then I got to say like, man, 200-300 million. Okay, let's do this.
Yeah. And they usually don't look like you'd expect.
No, they're normal people. Everybody's normal. I mean, some people are prissy and they dress fancy and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Whatever. That's how they are. But most people are just like, I mean, they put their shoes on, they take showers, they use the restroom, they eat with a fork and cut their food with a knife.
Yeah. Or they're just wearing shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah. Actually, I know some really wealthy people are kind of like slobs.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, they start eating and they're like food everywhere, and that's just who they are. That's who they were when they were a kid. They just work a little harder. And like you said, they're willing to take a chance. They're willing to ask a question. What they don't know, they ask someone else that does know it. Mm-hmm. That's really, like you said, it's the information that we don't have is what holds us back. Yeah. You know what I mean?
100%.
So we have to get the information.
Yeah. That's what life is. So, so Tom, the engineer that I sat next to, the professional engineer, the PE, the smartest guy that I've probably met, or one of the smartest at least, if not the smartest. He told me something that I've never forgotten. He said there's 2 ways to learn. You either burn your hand on the stove or you watch your brother do it. And I've taken that with me everywhere I've gone, and it's true, because when you think about life and what you do in it, a lot of it's just what you know. Your success is dependent on how much you know. And if you want to learn more, there's only a handful of ways to do it. Now you can go online, you can go to the library, you can go on a podcast and listen to like a podcast of someone else talking.
Yeah.
You can, do your own research in some way or another. You can ask someone for help. That's learning from someone else. You could even say like read a book, like at the library.
Yeah.
Well, that book was written by someone that had the information.
Yeah.
Right. So it's someone somewhere wrote down what they learned, or put it somewhere to be consumed. Mm-hmm. That's how you learn.
Yep.
The other way is you could avoid all that, and you can try and do it on your own and beat your head against the wall or fail and realize that after enough attempts, you will eventually be successful. But if you want to get that information sooner, you're better off finding someone that knows how to do it. But here's the caveat. You have to pay for it.
You do. Somewhere or somehow, right? Depending on the information you're trying to get or the level of information, right? So one is, if it's free information, you got to give up your time. Mm-hmm. That's pain, right? Or if it's the next level information where it's really like, in depth, you're paying for that mentorship or that seminar or that conference, which it's worth it if you can, grab that information and utilize it, for yourself and for your career.
Yeah. So here's a lot of people say time is money.
Yeah.
So, but the optics on that are, if I am spending my time doing something that's not making me money, it's costing me money, right?
Yeah.
And so the perspective there is, if I'm not making the money now, I'm losing it, right?
Okay.
So that's, I think what most people say when time is money, that's what they think about.
Yeah.
I think another perspective is time is money because you could exchange money to get information.
Yeah.
And that saves you time, right? It's almost like the reverse, where you waste time or you not waste time, you spend time and you lose the money. But the alternative is you can spend the money and gain time, right? And that's kind of just life, is how can I get the information that I want faster?
Yeah.
You pay for it.
Yep.
And there's businesses that exist strictly for information.
Yeah.
It's how do I do this? Like your company, right? I could probably go to Lowe's and buy everything that I need to do this.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to do it.
Of course.
And I'm going to spend a lot more money trying to make it look like this than I would if I just called you and paid you to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you probably charge a fair rate to do this sort of work, and the vinyl on the sheetrock and the studs behind it and building this, right? But most people just want to do it on their own, and then they fail, and then they fail, and then they fail. When really it's, if they would have taken a few minutes, made a phone call, asked for help, and paid someone to do it for them,
Yeah.
they would have saved so much more time.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like when you buy cheap stuff, stuff that's going to break, and you buy it 3-4 times when you could have just paid the first time, pay a little premium, but you don't have to take it back to the store. You don't have to send it in, be without something. You just pay the premium, get the right thing at the right time. But yeah, I like the analogy. And the if you put in, if it is time that you have to put in and it's valuable, it'll pay itself back. It'll pay back. If you utilize that information, it'll pay, now when you get to a certain level, like so at some level, whether, if you're becoming an entrepreneur or a leader, whatever it is, right? At some level, you have more time than money, right? Because that's just how it is. You don't get paid that much, and you have 24 hours in a day, right? But when you get to a certain level, now you have to figure out, do I want to pay for my time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where it changes. Like you said, that's when you start to flip it. It's like we have time in a day, 800 hours. I have 100 team members working 8 hours a day. So I have 800 hours of time each day
to get stuff done.
Right. So, but if I was, say, broke, not broke, but like, say I wasn't working here, or say I didn't have the business and I was just, working a normal job, whatever. And now I'm going to put the time in to learn. Right. And I'm going to grab and get the value of all that information, then start to apply it. So maybe you put in, 2 hours a night, 4 hours a night, learning 6 hours a night, whatever it is, to learn, put the time in, it'll pay itself back if you utilize it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you just have to trade.
You have
to make the trade, and someone has to lose.
Someone has to lose.
You either lose your time or you lose your money. You're losing one of them.
Yeah, and I remember. It was a couple months ago. Someone was we're talking with a couple or whatever, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't listen to too many podcasts, and I don't like them." And I'm like, "You're crazy." I said like a little small statement, but in my mind, I'm like, "You're freaking nutsos!" Like that tells me you're not even learning.
Yeah,
you're not even open to the fact to learn.
Yeah.
If you're not, if in today's age, if you're not looking at content on YouTube, and learning from it, or Instagram's got more shorts. Do they have the long reels now? No, right?
I don't have an Instagram. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, you're on LinkedIn, right? Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
how LinkedIn. But if you're not on there learning somewhere, you're so far behind.
Yeah.
I'm on YouTube a ton. I'm watching like different podcasts, different learning, whether it's, I'm on church stuff, different pastors really like that I like that, or business techniques or news information, world news, but I'm on there like grasping information, just grabbing it, like ebooks, audio. I got like, maybe 100 Audible books. If I'm driving, I'm not listening to the radio.
Yeah.
I'm listening to some sort of podcast or audiobook.
Yeah.
To learn.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird to say, but I've probably listened to more books in my life than I've read.
No, that's totally me. I don't read that many books.
Yeah. You spend more time driving than most things, right? Especially out here in Phoenix. Like if you get stuck in traffic after 3:00 or before 7, between 7 and 9 and like 3 to 6, your trip can go from 1 hour to an hour and a half, right? And how do you choose to spend that time? Do you spend listening to your favorite song that
don't pay you,
that doesn't pay you or doesn't offer you anything other than just, having fun, or do you learn? And I've taken the approach of, the Audible route and having books on there. I've gone the podcast route. I found some really good podcasts around like being a dad, right? Would have never listened to that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that, right? But then, when your kids kind of say stuff that makes you feel like a failure as a parent, you kind of change. It's like, well, maybe I should listen to something about being a better dad or being a better husband or being a better friend, right? Being less selfish. And I agree with you that if you're not taking the time to learn, you're falling behind. But I also kind of feel like if you don't take the time to learn, you'll never be a better version of yourself.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you can't and I like preach on this, like, be your best today. That way your tomorrow is even better, right? So like behind you it says, the TV's covering it now. What does it say behind there, Antonio? Today needs to be even better than tomorrow or something like that. That's saying behind you, right? It's like,
Yeah.
but you have to become the best version of yourself. And I think people still lose that thought, and the world's crazy. Everybody's busy, but I really believe we have to become the best versions of ourselves. And that takes each day to do it. It takes each minute, but each day,
Something.
you got to do something to change to make your life better, or else you're going to be doing the same thing, and I told, I was telling my wife, we're talking, and for a while I wanted to get a recliner, and then we started going to people's houses, like a recliner, chair recliner,
Like a lazy boy.
yeah, and because I see, like, we had one when I was a kid, you know what I mean? It was like used and stuff, but it was one of those, and so we were buying furniture, and I was like, I want to get something like it could look cool, but like the legs come up and stuff. And so we started, I started paying attention at everybody's houses we're visiting.
Oh, I know where this is going.
Yeah. And then I started like, dude, like, and then we started talking, we're like, man, they're like older, they're lazier, they think different. They're like too complacent. And then I'm like, I don't want a freaking recliner no more. Yeah. Because like, then you see like the doubles, his and her recliners. And I'm like, F that. Like, I want to be able to get out of the damn couch really fast and do something really fast. And I want to be explosive with my time. You know what I mean? And I don't want to feel old. So the recliner's out, bro. For me.
I think if you look at the things that you own and you consider what you have to do to be a part of that or to enjoy it, right? Like the lazy boy. What do you have to do to enjoy the money you spent on that chair?
You have to sleep in the damn thing.
You have to sit in it, right?
You have to sit in it all day.
But what do people do when they sit?
Yeah.
They're usually watching TV, right? They're usually talking with someone else. They're I would say rarely reading a book.
I don't even think talking with anyone else. I think they're just
it's
television.
7:00 and you need something to do, so you sit in the lazy boy and you you put yourself in a position where you're just watching TV, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I said I knew where you were going with that, because once you have the lazy boy, I don't want to say you become lazy.
You become the lazy boy.
But you use the lazy boy.
Yeah.
Right? You bought it, so you use it.
Yeah.
And the results of you using a chair like that is you don't progress in other areas of your life. Right?
I really believe it. Like, I mean, I'm literally looking at all these different people. Now there's, people that have them and all that stuff, right? But I'm just like, there's no way I'm getting a lazy boy no more.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to be like, I don't want to feel older. I mean, I'm getting older. My body's breaking down in some areas, but I want to feel younger. I want to pop out of the chair. I'm not like be stuck in this, and like you're trying to get out of this big old chair. You're sunk in it.
Well, so the lazy boy isn't just the only thing. I mean, you could buy a lot of different things.
Yeah.
That when you use them, you kind of become not a lesser version of yourself, but you become a less motivated person of yourself.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I love when people buy exercise equipment. And
Yeah.
they put it in their house.
Yeah.
So it can collect dust.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because think about it. All the people that have exercise equipment in their home,
Yeah.
they don't use it.
I do.
Right?
I do.
Is it in the garage?
No, I built a room,
Yeah.
but I have a guy come to my house now.
Yeah. But so if you didn't have someone come to your house, I would guarantee you it would collect dust.
No, my son. So when we built it, we built the house like I don't know, 9 months ago, whatever. When we moved in, we were done with it, and so I literally the floor's gym flooring. The whole room's a gym, and my son goes, "Oh, that's cool. You built a museum."
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyways, and it was a museum for a bit. Then I was like, I got to hire someone to help me to come push me. So he comes at like 3 days a week. But you're absolutely right. Is most of it does nothing.
Yeah.
Because you need something to push you. You need something to get you pumping and moving. And
yeah, I think there's only a handful of people that can push themselves.
very few.
And I think what most people need is someone that's doing it that can be like, hey, like, come on, put your phone down.
That's everywhere though in life. Like, so you could say that in fitness, but you could also say that in parenting.
Yeah.
And being a good spouse, maybe because you could say, well, I push myself. I could say this personally. I push myself. I was just telling Felicity, I was like, no one has to wake me up to go to work. No one has to wake me up to do this. She's like, well, but you got to have a dude come here to push you to work out.
Yeah.
So like, how motivated are you really? You know what I mean? Because like what you're saying is totally spot on. Like you can be killing it at work, but like losing over here.
Yeah. One winner, one loser, right?
Yeah.
I'm convinced that everyone is in some form or not another depressed, right?
I believe it.
Like maybe they're not on medication, but there's definitely people that are sad and you can see it in their eyes.
Yeah.
You can see it in their face. You can see it when they talk. There's times I feel like the same, where like maybe people are picking up on me. Like I've been through some stuff and it's just like, there has been a time where I just like sat there and just thought to myself, like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Right. And you just kind of fall into this like rabbit hole and you just don't know if you're going to get out. But what you find is when you know people that you can look up to, or you have people to count on, what they really do is having friends. What they provide is hope. Right. And I don't think a lot of people realize it, but when you have someone that calls you or texts you or checks in on you and they say, hey, you want to grab lunch? Or, hey, how's it going? You could be having the worst day of your life and you get a phone call from someone that maybe you don't talk to very often, but it's someone. And they bring you out of this shell, right? They help push you, right? And then you spiral less.
Yeah.
You're still spiraling, right? But I think everyone to some extent has some form of depression. And it's because their life isn't what they wanted.
Yeah.
It's not what they expected. Maybe work isn't going well. Maybe their finances aren't where they'd like to be. Or they see successful people and they wish that they had it. But what's different with the people that are happier is I think that they ask for help. I think that they're willing to be someone asking for help than saying that they don't need
They're
it.
more close. They're opened up. Yeah. Because I think as most guys, and I'm guilty of this as well, is like not opening up and saying, hey, man, I'm trying to learn how to do that. Like most guys are not good friends, you know, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And that's just I think that's the wiring, and you have to learn these things. Right. And so if you're not a good friend or a good partner, like you're not going to open up when you're going through a bunch of crap. Right.
No.
But now you're going through the crap all alone. And that's where depression comes in. Right.
Yeah.
Because there's no one to bounce it off. And like, I mean, think about it. You're going through a bunch of stuff, and all you have to do is tell the right person, which you don't know who it is, but you got to tell somebody. It could be the right person, and they could just give you the right answer. But yet we're going through it all alone. You know what I mean? And so I think like you should open up. I think you should. Like I am learning. I was texting people the other day. I'm like, I need to stay in contact with like certain people, or I'm calling them. Like I'm trying to do this, especially as I'm meeting people like in the podcast world. Like I'm meeting different people from different industries and stuff. And I'm like, I'm going to learn how to do like, to be maybe not their friend, because maybe they'll never call me a friend, but at least like an acquaintance where we communicate.
Yeah.
That's a step closer, because usually before, like I won't even answer the phone for people, you know, I'm like, whatever. I'm working.
Don't want to talk.
I'm working. I'll go through my own crap on my own, you know. And when like they probably have the solution for me, because they may have went through it already.
Yeah. But you know what? What's also interesting when you think about asking for help, I almost feel like if you don't offer the help, you miss out on that too.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a really good example. And maybe less on the help side, but a buddy of mine, I work out with him. You know, we used to work out a lot a long time ago. And now that I'm here, you know, he lives here, so we work out. And I've known him for 20, 25 years, you know, more than half of my life. And so we're at the gym and we're talking about some work stuff and, you know, kind of what I'm doing. And he's like, all right, man, well, I gotta run because I gotta go home. All right, cool, man. I'll talk to you later. He's like, and he goes, I love you, bro. What? It was the first time another man's told me that he loves me.
Yeah.
And it just felt so weird.
Yeah.
Right. But he didn't mean it any other way than he just cares.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, what do you mean you love me? And I was like, oh yeah, okay, man. And I just like took off.
Yeah.
You know, it was the weirdest thing for me. And I think now when I think about it, it's like, it's weird because it's never happened. Right. No one's ever said that. Mm-hmm. But now when you look back at that moment, and for me personally, when I think about it, it's like, he cares.
Yeah.
There's someone else that cares about me. Right. Or there's someone else that cares about them. And I think as just men, you don't ever hear another man say, hey, I love you.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just what they need. You know, maybe they need to know that someone cares. Mm-hmm. And like you hear it from your wife and you hear it from your kids. And that's one thing, right? But to have another man say it, it's just like, for me, it was just so out of left field.
Mm-hmm. He's like, I got your back.
Yeah. And it's all it means. And it's just like, when you think about certain things and it's like, I don't know if I want to do this. And I don't know if I'm willing to take the risk. And I don't know how it's going to go. And I don't know if I'll be successful. Like, you're kind of relying on yourself, mm-hmm. right? But if you knew more people believed in you mm-hmm. and more people supported you, mm-hmm. I'd be willing to bet a lot more people would take a risk. A lot more people would be willing to gamble.
It's true.
Than they would if they didn't know that there was going to be some sort of support system. Well,
yeah, you're going into a fight all alone with a bunch of animals,
and you don't know how it's going to end up. Yeah. And what you do know is there's one winner and there's one loser.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And the interesting part about all that is like when you have people that support you, right? When you have people that call you to ask you how you're doing, mm-hmm. it almost makes you be a better version of yourself because you feel confident. Mm-hmm. Even if when you don't feel confident to do something on your own, to know that someone is rooting for you.
Yeah.
Right? To know that someone will be there mm-hmm. if you need help.
Yeah.
Right? But you don't know this unless you ask. And it's like this weird situation where people want to help, but they want you to want the help. They don't want you to just expect it, right? And people want you to be successful, but they're not going to go out their way to help you be successful. You have to do it on your own, knowing that they'll be there to support you. And at the end of the day, if you don't know these people and you don't talk to these people and you don't have friends and you don't tell people kind of what your dreams are, no one's ever going to know.
No one will know.
And then what ends up happening is you kind of have a failure here, you have a failure there, and you kind of just give up. And then you just go back to what you know is going to be okay.
Yeah. I think like for me, what you're saying, like, you know, so, you know, like my wall says, keep God first. Right. And part of like when I got into like the faith-based religion, you know, Christianity, I give myself to God. It was me when I was all alone.
Yeah.
And I was a single dad, 3 kids. And that was me, like totally alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I had no friends, no family. I quit doing drugs. I quit drinking. So everyone I knew was like out, you know what I mean? They were out of my life.
Yeah.
And and so that for like, so when I was going through that, so for like people listening, like maybe you don't have a friend or something, but like there is other avenues. For me, it was God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, God's got my back.
Yeah.
God's walking. And some people are like, well, what is God? What is that? Right. But it's a higher being, right? If you're about to die, you're going to be like, please God, save me.
Yeah. Help me.
Right. Yeah. I don't care who you are. You're going to do it. Right.
Yeah.
And so like that, for me, that was God. Like, okay, who's going with me? God's got my back. Mm-hmm. I don't see him, but I feel it. I've seen a lot of things happen in my life that have saved my life, have turned for the better, for miracle things, right? And so we have to have something bigger than us walking right beside us.
Yeah. And if you don't have that, hopefully you have a friend.
Yeah.
Because like you said, when you had no one to turn to, you turn to someone that you don't know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, maybe if you had the best friend, maybe if you had a few friends that you could rely on,
yeah,
maybe you wouldn't have turned to God, right? But it's when you don't have anyone, I guess you can say you've always got someone.
You always want something. You always want someone of a higher being, I believe, anyways, right? Because it like, I think like my we'll talk about my faith a little bit. Is like my faith in God, and that gives me my confidence in my abilities, right? Because even if, like I said, I can't see him, but in my mind I'm like, okay, cool, I got a soldier right here, the king, right? And so it's like if there's a scripture that says, if he be for me, who be against me? It talks about that. If he be for me, who be against me, right? And so, and if God is for me, who be against me? That means if God is for me, then God will bring me the right friends. God will bring me the right relationships. God will open the doors for the contracts and the sales pitches, all that stuff. God will also allow and close the door to save you, right? And so that's when I say like, you know, because I can be going through a lot of stuff and I'm like, God, man, I need something. I need someone. And then someone will come through, right? A friend or from our friend, dude, this is a real story. So we were going through, my wife and myself, like, we had a real hard time in the business. I mean, we're doing good, but we had a really hard time and there's just a lot of stuff happening and we started fighting a lot, you know, like a lot.
Okay.
And I'm just like praying, like, God, we need something. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't want to get divorced. No one's cheating. We're just fighting like crazy, over everything, right? And out of nowhere, our best friends, they had moved out of the state 3 years ago. They were like, we're just gonna try something new somewhere else, and we would turn to them, kind of type thing, and. So we felt alone. We felt alone. And I'm like, God, I don't know what you need to do. And then they're called, boom, we're going to Phoenix. And
like moving back?
No. They just came to visit us.
Oh, okay.
Out of nowhere, they flew in, stayed with us for a week. And it was like a whole breath of fresh air. Because now we're, but it was like, it was something that happened, and there's no way I could have made that happen. I could have called him like, hey, come bring your family over here, bro. And first of all, I would never done it.
Yeah. Second,
he'd be like, dude, man up. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it was a higher being that said, I got to put this together, because your marriage needs to be saved. And then they were going through something too. It was crazy. It was the craziest thing ever.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely, when you say it like that, it kind of makes you feel like something's going on.
There's definitely, there's moving forces all around us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think we got to interact in it, and we got to be open to those relationships, because like I'm saying in my life, like God opens those doors. So for me, I have to be like, okay, this is cool. And sometimes it's not the right person, right? Sometimes business or whatever is like, that guy's shady.
Yeah.
Right. And then, but sometimes like, man, they're really cool. He's different. He's a dork, but I like him. I like him. Yeah. He's straight. You know what I mean? Like, he's honest. He's integral. Like, he takes care of his family, his employees, whatever. I don't care if he looks goofy or different color or, nationality, he's a dude, or, I don't talk to chicks because
you're married.
Yeah. You don't want to get in a fight.
You just saved your marriage. What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. So we have to be open. You're totally right, dude. We have to be open, and we have to want to challenge ourselves to become more. Sounds like that's what you're doing. You know what I mean? You're in the IT space, killing it, right?
Yeah.
So like, tell us a little bit about the IT. We talked a lot about life stories. That was cool though. People need that. We need that. You and I needed that. That's what we're talking about it.
Yeah.
So, but like, tell us, so your company is KBT Solutions, right?
Correct.
What do you do?
You remember how we talked about earlier, there's people that want information, the people that have it?
Yeah.
That's what I do.
So you have it?
We have it.
You have the info. You're the one we've been missing this whole time.
We have the download. So let me take a step back, and I'll kind of tell you kind of my journey. So when I was in sales, I worked with a guy. He was a networking guy, a Cisco guy. Been in the business for 30 years, right? And probably one of the best guys at what he does. Worked with some of the largest clients in the world. Worked for them. Worked, at Cisco. And then he worked with us, and he was our go-to guy for anything networking. And there was one day we were hanging out, and he told me something that I haven't forgotten. And he said, I don't make Fern money. I go, what are you talking about? You don't make my money, right? Because so the one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that in the sales world, the commission pay is a lot lower, if any. Or not commission, the base pay, the salary.
Yeah.
A lot of salespeople are commission based, 100%. If they've been in the role long enough, they're 100% commission based.
Yeah, you want to be.
Yeah, you want to be, because that's, high risk, high reward.
Yep.
Right? If you're in the engineering world, you have a really good base pay, but you don't make as much commission. Right? So he said, I don't make Fern money. And I go, like, what is that supposed to mean? He's like, I just don't make as much money as you. And so my response was, what do you mean? Like, you make really good money. Yeah, but it's not as good as you. Right? And that stuck with me. And I remember thinking to myself, he's one of the smartest people that I know on the networking space, right? He's been doing it for a long time. He has all the certifications. He's one of the lead architects. But he looks at me and says, I don't make money like you. And what troubled me with that was when I went to school for engineering, right? And I remember thinking, worst case scenario, I'll make really good money, right? But here was someone that was top of their game, and they weren't making the money that they wanted. And I thought, that stuck with me. And then I thought about my old boss saying, if you do this long enough, you'll make $120,000 at least.
Yeah.
I made a lot more than that in a year, by multiples.
Yeah.
And it kind of hit me in a spot where it's like, I went to school to be one of these guys, to be successful. But those people are struggling. Mm-hmm. Engineers struggle daily, right? And when you think of the IT world, it's this is another idea from someone that, you know, I worked with at the time. Really smart guy, and probably just, you know, I like to say that a lot of people are some of the smartest people I've met, and that's helped me put this together, right? You know, and these people were in my life at a certain point in my life, and they've given me these nuggets.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to the point where I have all these nuggets in front of me, and I'm just putting them together.
Yeah.
Right. So this other nugget is everyone in tech sales is selling something, right? A product or a service or software. Mm-hmm. And there's someone that needs to buy it, right? But if you really take the situation and you break it down, what it comes down to is you have someone that needs information and someone that has it, right? There's a transfer of knowledge. There has to be someone that has it and someone that wants it for a transaction to exist.
Yeah.
And that's really what sales is I am selling you an answer to a problem. Because if you had the answer, you would have done it on your own.
That's right.
You would have solved it.
That's right.
But you don't have it. So you have to go to someone that does.
Yeah.
And in every situation, it's rarely the salesperson that has the answer. They might have the answer, but they rely on engineers. They rely on networking. They rely on storage. They rely on cloud. They rely on security engineers. There's people that dedicate their life to designing and building and protecting the technology space.
Yeah.
And you only get access to those people through salespeople, right? So the salespeople end up being the quarterback, right? They end up being the person that can coordinate these phone calls. And on these phone calls, there's one thing that happens. It's the transfer of knowledge.
Yep.
You have the engineer that knows how to do it and how to fix a problem, how to avoid an issue, how to save you from, you know, burning yourself on the stove. And you have a client that's willing to pay for that. And they're willing to pay for that through professional services, some sort of staff aug, through some sort of engagement where they pay, right? And that's tech sales in you know, in an eggshell, right?
What does KBT stand for?
So KBT stands for Knowledge Brokers of Technology.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
So
And then give us a scenario. Like, are you sticking to a certain industry, or you're selling tech to, like, you're pairing up? You're basically pairing to the, like you said, the person who needs it with the right system or software or whatever.
yeah.
Is like, give us a scenario of like a software that you recently paired up with somebody.
So a good one would be, we'll say Cisco, right? Cisco's a major player in the space, right? From networking, anything related to infrastructure. Cisco is end to end.
They got huge infrastructure.
Yeah.
They're good.
You could run an entire business off of Cisco. Yeah. I mean, it's probably not the best thing to do because there's so many other things out there that can complement it.
Their hardware is really good though.
Yeah, like you have the networking, you have this, not storage, you have like the infrastructure, you have a lot of licensing, either phone systems like call manager, and you can run an entire business can run on Cisco, right? But a lot of times there's things that Cisco can do that people don't realize, right? So when they come to us, they're looking for information, right? And the thing that's different about the way I have the company set up is there is an emphasis on engineers having a better outcome. Now, and I'll give you an example of what I mean by that, is when you have a salesperson that relies on engineers, right, to help their clients, whenever there's a product sold, the salesperson gets a majority of the commission, right? Because they're commission-based.
Yep.
The engineer might get a little bit. They might get a scrap here. They might get a scrap there. They're going to for sure get their higher base pay, but they're not earning a commission, right? And every engineer that I've ever spoken with in the world of tech does not like the setup. They don't like that. From their perspective, people that don't have the engineering background get all of the money.
Yeah.
Right. So the salespeople make all of the money, and the engineers kind of are the reason for that success. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take away from salespeople and say that they don't do their job, because they do their job and they earn from that. But without the engineer, the salesperson would be less successful.
Yeah.
Right. But yet the people that get rewarded are the salespeople. Right. So the way that I have our setup is the engineer salespeople have a more equitable situation, to where the engineers actually earn commission through the purchase of products that they help sell. Right. So say you came to me and you said, hey, Fern, I need to get this done. Right. I could go to an engineer and have them help design and build it and sell it to you, and I would make all the money. Mm-hmm. Right. That's the setup today. Right.
Yeah.
With most of these major companies, or just most companies in general in the tech space, in the resale space, right, of tech. The way that we have it set up is, yes, their salespeople are essential, right? They have a purpose. But when you have a business that runs lean and doesn't have a lot of overhead and a lot of expenses, you can then afford to pay the engineers more. So not only do they have a better base pay, they earn more through commission. Mm-hmm. And no one really does that. And everyone that I've spoken with about it says, you're the only person that does that. The people that do something similar, right, they might be engineering led, but there's always a salesperson. And I think in my mind, I would rather build a company that kind of brings both worlds together, where it brings the sales world with the engineering to where both parties end up having a better outcome.
So are you geared more towards customization?
I would say geared more towards helping customers get the best outcome financially.
Yeah.
With different programs and structures that we have.
Whether it's already pre-built or not built.
A lot of it's custom.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
So, yeah.
So a lot of it's based on what they have in their environment today and what they need, and how to get from point A to point B. That's essentially what it is, they need an Uber from where they're at today to where they want to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. And in that space, we'll just say that they don't have a car. So they come to us, and that car becomes a vehicle for them to have the information to get where they're at today to where they want to be. And as a result of that, usually they're buying something. They're buying a technology or a service or a software to accomplish and get to where they want to go. Right. And what's different is now the engineers that are part of that journey benefit just as much as the salespeople. So you have a place where you have two people working together, but they feel like a team, because now it's not this disparity of, someone making a $50,000 paycheck and the person that helped them do that maybe making a $5,000 paycheck.
No, I totally get it.
So you bring them both closer.
You're like, hey, you were part of you had just as much skin in the game.
Yeah, it's teamwork, and I think that's what it's all about. And one thing that I've kind of seen is, it's not that these companies don't want to have an environment where everyone's successful. It's just that they can't, because there's so many other expenses with the business that someone has to lose. Yeah. And generally, when you look at the commission structure versus a base pay, it's justified for engineers to say, well, I'd rather make $150,000 guaranteed than have nothing possible, right? And you have salespeople that say, well, I want all the commission, right? So if you remove all the extra overhead, what you can then do is say, well, you can make your base because you're valuable, right? And that's why you have that base. And, no engineer is going to work for free or on a commission structure. Yeah. But then you offer them that commission as a supplemental route for them to go. And they're a lot happier because they feel like the work that they did is valued and they've earned from it. There's nothing worse than doing a lot of work and then not getting paid for it.
Oh, that's terrible.
And being told, well, you get paid a base pay. Yeah. You have a better base pay than the salesperson.
Just be lucky you got a job.
Yeah, be happy you have something, right? So that's what I would say is different, is we help clients get the information that they need, but also bring the engineers along.
So you've partnered up with different engineers and all that stuff to to service your customers. Yeah, and it's really what it comes down to is having people that are specialized in different areas acting as consultants
right? Because we also become kind of a vehicle for them,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of times there's what I've kind of learned is there's a lot of people that do consulting, but they don't do product, right? And there's one reason for it is the money. They don't have the money to purchase the product to sell to their client.
Of course.
So what they'll do is they'll send them to another company that'll do it. So they'll do all the work and they'll get paid, $200, $300 an hour for their consulting services.
Mm-hmm.
And they might make a $15,000 or $20,000 check for an engagement. And all the recommendations on what to do end up going to another company. Right?
Yeah. When we were looking, this is like 3 or 4 years ago, I was looking for a project management software, and I had found the guy that all he did was he brokered to another company. Yeah, so he would be like, "Hey, we got these 7 companies we think are software companies, and then let's pick 3, and then let's pick 2, and let's pick 1." So that guy didn't have nothing really to offer, but some different. He really didn't. He just was a broker.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it's a very similar model.
Yeah, but you're saying, hey, we'll customize this, and everybody, the team wins. The team that's building it, and everyone wins.
So what's different is the engineers that would historically help with a conversation of getting from point A to point B, and there's tons of these people that all they do is help clients that know their environment so well that they can make recommendations, but they don't have either the capital or the desire for the risk on the product. So they end up not doing it, right? So kind of the way that we have it set up is these consultants, help us, right? They're part of the team and they help the clients. But the outcome is when that client needs to purchase, they purchase it through us. And then guess who earns the commission when that gets done?
Yeah.
Is the person that historically never got it.
Yeah, it's something new for them.
The consultant, yeah.
So you've been in business like a year, probably, like a year, or how long have you been? Just under a year.
Less than a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is your first go around at owning your own business.
Yeah.
How do you like it?
It's terrible.
Well, it's good. It's hard.
I will say I've been humbled.
Of course, because we think we know everything until
you're doing
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, before I thought this is easy. I know how this stuff works. I know how the sausage is made. I can do all this. It's not that hard. And then you start doing it.
Then you realize you need the machine that does the sausage.
Yeah, you realize that it's not as simple as you thought.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why a lot of people fail. And there's a reason why a lot of people don't take the shot. And
True.
What you end up finding out is if you don't have a support system or people that believe in it, right, and that believe in you, you're going to fail, right? But when you have those people around you, and I can name them, there's a handful of people, right?
Yeah.
That are always there and that I can always count on and expect to boost me when I'm down, right? Without those people, I probably would have quit a long time ago.
So before you started the bit, are you full time in the business right now?
Yeah.
So you had a job prior. Mm-hmm. You quit your job.
Yes.
And what did people say when you quit your job?
That I was crazy.
You were crazy. I knew it.
Yeah.
I could have told you that.
Yeah.
Not that you're crazy, but that they tell you that.
Yeah. They said that I was crazy because the money that I was making was, we'll say over $500,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Just picking up the phone, making phone calls, scheduling calls, selling. Right?
Selling.
And I would argue that I'm pretty good at it, right? And it's not that I'm good at sales. I think I'm just good at helping people. And I'm good at doing it in a way where people trust me, right? And there's a method to the madness. But when I first started, I gave everything away for free. I gotta let them know who I am, right?
Yeah.
If they don't know who you are, they're never gonna work with you. And they used to always call me buying deals Fern, right? They knew me as the guy that gave everything away. And eventually I went by BDF, right? Buying deals Fern was
BDF.
Yeah, that's what they called me. And
Instead of Adobe Acrobat PDF, you're BDF.
yeah, BDF is stood for buying deals for it. And I was always the low cost option for everyone.
That's okay.
Right. But what it allowed me to do was get in front of the right people and show them my work ethic. Granted, my family lost out on a lot of stuff, right? Because I was focused on earning.
Yeah.
But by the end of my career, they called me Big Deal Fern. So I went from buying deal Fern to Big Deal Fern.
You're talking about when you were working for the company?
Yeah.
And that was Cisco?
No. It's a company called CDW.
Oh, okay. So you're a Big Deal Fern.
Yeah.
And then so you're like, I'm doing this for them. I can do this on my own.
In a sense, I think I believed that I could.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not why I quit. Right. The reason that I quit had nothing to do with doing it on my own.
Yeah.
Right. The reason I had quit was more so a situation where long term, I realized that when you're in a sales role, you're subject to the comp plan. Right. And for my specific situation, I was in a situation that had no good outcome for me.
You were capped.
It wasn't that I was capped. It was that the way that the structure worked, it worked against me because of my situation. We had lost one of our largest customers that was doing at least half of the business.
Oh, yeah.
And when that customer was gone, the expectation was I would have to sell just as much as they were buying to the other customers that we were working with. So the outcome there is when you lose, a $50 million account, the rest of your accounts have to do that business.
Did they tell you you're going to miss me when I'm gone?
No, they didn't tell me that. Actually, no one ever called me when I left. I got one call from one person after I left.
Yeah.
And
I was talking about the big customer.
Oh, no. They never said that.
They're like, you're going to miss me when I'm gone.
No,
That's true. When you put a lot of eggs in one basket or half your eggs in one basket, it's like.
Yeah. And especially when you're in a sales job, because when you're expected to sell that and that no longer exists, the outcome is you have to sell double to everyone else,
which is hard because they're like, I got all I need right now.
Yeah. Or they're buying stuff from different people. Right. And there's no way you could expect that they're going to buy everything from you.
Yeah.
And you can't just say, hey, I lost my biggest customer. I need you to spend twice as much for me to be able to earn. Right. And so there was that, and there was some other stuff. And I kind of looked at it and I thought to myself, I'm essentially going to be working for free. Right. Mm-hmm. With the way that it was set up for me, for my specific situation, I would be working for free. And I remember sitting in my office in February of last year, and I looked at my paycheck, and it was $0.
Hold on, you got a check for $0?
I didn't get a check for $0, but when I looked at my commission statement for that month,
yeah,
it was $0.
Okay,
but I had sold close to $1 million
because it just wasn't enough.
Just wasn't enough.
Yeah.
I had a 10-pound backpack to fill, and I was filling it with 2 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm still doing well relative to other people that I worked with. But when you have the backpack that you have to fill and you can't fill it, you just don't earn as much.
Yeah. And it becomes different. The thought process.
Yeah.
That's a whole mind game in itself.
Yeah. And for me, it was, do I justify working more or working harder, working smarter, or doing all these things and then having my family miss out on me? Or do I just quit?
Yeah.
And I in the heat of the moment, I just put in my 2 weeks notice. And I just I'm done.
So you went to NDF. No deals furned.
No deals furned. I went from BDF, from buying deals to big deals to no deals.
Yeah.
Correct.
But now you're on your own. And so have you got, I know this is new. Like, is your wife work?
No.
So you guys are on savings and credit cards and.
We're on.
I know this world. I know I've started with nothing.
Yeah,
so
I would say
hard.
we're on what I've built over the years.
Yeah.
Right. I was pretty good with the money that I had earned in terms of buying things and saving. So I'm on, most people would call it savings, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it's been for the longest time. It's just like you, as it doesn't matter how good you are at your job.
Mm-hmm.
The minute you don't have brand recognition or people don't know about your business,
Mm-hmm.
you could be the best salesperson in the world. And
Yeah.
that's not to say that I am, but you could be the best person and it's going to be difficult to earn business because from another business's perspective, it's do we take the risk on the new guy or do we just go with what we know is going to be okay?
Yeah. You got to go back to BDF, bro.
I do.
Take it back to the old school.
Take it back. And that's essentially what we've done is taking it back to day zero, you know, day one, you know, making phone calls, getting hung up on, just doing whatever you can to get someone to listen. And now it's gotten a lot better because over the last 6 months, I think the message has changed. The business idea still exists, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the business idea is different now. And what it comes down to is when you're smaller, you have less overhead. You can do things for a lot less.
Yeah.
So we're kind of back to not the low cost alternative, but what I say is the fair price alternative, right? Now, when you work for a large company, say you make so much in commission, you get a small percentage of that and the rest goes to the business, right?
Yeah.
I'm the business.
Yeah.
Right. So when you look at what I was earning, the percentage that I was taking, I could take 80%, 90% off of what we were selling at and still net the same for myself personally.
Yeah. Right now you can.
It doesn't help
that you're small.
Yeah. It doesn't help the engineers, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, we'll add something in there for them, or maybe I'll just work for free and to help build these engineers up. Right. But that's kind of the nice part is when you look at it from a perspective of we don't have all these expenses, we can do it for a lot less. We can do it for a fair price and a competitive price. It's been a really good message and been successful at conveying it and getting people to, you know, to take a shot, right? Where otherwise they wouldn't have. But it's still a struggle.
Yeah. Because the first optic is the price.
Yes. Well, if you don't have a price, you're done. If you don't have a good
first thing, the price is you got to be in that world. So you have a partner?
Yeah.
So you have a business partner. And were you guys doing the same thing in the last company? Like the same type of job, like the consulting, or same stuff, right? Same world.
Yeah, it's the same space. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you just keep pushing, like you have to, you know, I remember when we started, and we started in 2009. There was no work in 2009, 2008.
This terrible time.
Yeah. Right. And so, the end of 2008, it was like I was done. You know, I was working for another company, and I already had wanted to go on my own, and now there was like less and less and less work, where it was like, for like the whole world.
Turned into a raisin.
Yeah, and so like, so when we started, we were broke. We're like,
$4.
$2 or something or whatever it was. Yeah,
I think it was $4.
It was nothing, bro. Like we were broke, and just got married, all that stuff. And so I get it, like, and it's hard. And when I started, I didn't have the experience. I didn't even know how to use a computer.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I didn't go to high school, bro. I just graduated from 8th grade. I got a GED, but that was from my knowledge from 7th grade.
Okay.
You know what I mean? GED. So like, I know what it's like to have to go in cheap, go in with nothing, right? And, you know, so like you have to take it back to the old school where you're like, you're the hardest worker and you're the cheapest at the same time. And some people are like, well, it places value on you. Well, listen, nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
And really, to tell you the truth, and I don't mean to like, is at the place, most people don't even care. You have to convince them to care.
No one cares.
Nobody cares because they only care about the damn price.
Yeah.
You know, even your customers, like I remember when I started, and So I was telling people like, yeah, I'm gonna start. They're like, yeah, start. We'll hire you.
No one called.
Dude, we started. It was like freaking crickets. It was. I'm on Craigslist trying to get any job, like $700 jobs. And I remember when we got a $700 job, I was like, man, we hit the lottery, because it was nothing, you know. And people I knew, they didn't trust me. They were changing companies, and you know, they're still now. You're even though you're up here in the industry as a worker, as an entrepreneur and a business owner, you're at the bottom.
Yeah,
you know,
you become the very bottom.
Yeah,
the bottom that people don't even want to step on. Like,
and some people do, like, you know, transition into the business world really fast, right? But it sounds, you know, it didn't for me. It didn't happen for me, but the persistence, the determination.
Yeah.
You know, my wife, we do everything together. I think that's what's helped me, is because I knew, like, at the end of the day, she was going to back me up, you know, and then the same thing is I'm going to back her up. And so if your partner, you know, I'm sure you guys are backing each other up and stuff like that.
Yeah. I would say at least half the time she kicks me out of bed. Right. Yeah. You know, she's there. She's that support system.
Yeah, you got to get up and go to work. You got to go.
Yeah. You got to do something.
Don't you have to do that thing? Don't you have to make that and call that person? Like,
did you send that email? Did you call that person? You know, because she knows everything that I'm working.
Yeah, you're telling her I got to do this. Don't let me forget.
Yeah. So, you know, luckily she's there for that. Otherwise, I probably would have, you know, folded. Right.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. There's a lot of people. So. And this is a thought that I've had for a while recently, right? And I'll tell you quickly that, remember how we talked about a business is business?
Yeah.
Right. My feeling for that is that it's a result of how people treat businesses or business owners. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you why that is. So for me personally, a friend of mine called me and said, hey, I'm working on this deal. And we need you. We need you to help us win it. Right? Here's the catch. You can only sell our product. Are you in? Where are you working? And I'm like, well, I'm on my couch right now. Hadn't done anything. This was back in June of last year. And he said, we're working on this deal, and we know you can help us win it. Right? And, oh, okay. Yeah, let's go. Right? Mm-hmm. So, got the website up, got the logo, got the colors, got the website, got the paperwork set up, got the account set up, right? The first partner that we ever sold was for the company that this guy called me from, right? And went through this whole deal. So that's how it started, right? Mm-hmm. And when I was telling people what I was doing, everyone's excited. You know, everyone's happy for you. Oh, this is great. You know, we're proud of you. That's day 1.
Yeah.
Day 30, half of those people exist.
Yeah.
Day 60, half of those people exist. And eventually you have this fall off of everyone that was supporting you, that, you know, in their mind supports you, but there's just nothing they can physically do to help you.
Yeah.
Right? So they're kind of sideline cheerleading. And as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you tell yourself, I have all this support and it's going to be great, and you're excited about it. And then 6 months in, you realize it's just you. And there's only one person crazy enough to believe in what you're doing. And you stare at that person every day in the mirror when you wake up.
Yeah.
And it's a very lonely feeling, because people that I would call and they would call me back within 5 or 10 minutes, I don't even hear from them anymore. Mm-hmm. And it's not that they're avoiding me. It's just that there's nothing they can really do. Their hands are tied.
Yeah,
so,
they can't make that purchase or
no. Or if they could, they still can't, because they work for a company that just doesn't want to take that sort of risk.
Yeah.
Even though there's no risk for them, because they're not paying for it until 30 days after they receive it.
Yeah.
So we're on the line for getting paid. If we don't get paid, we get burned. But so you have this really high expectation of everyone that wants to support you. And then you get further along in the journey and you realize that while they want to support you, there's nothing they can really do. Right. And then you kind of have this realization that if you don't do it, it's not going to happen. You can't rely on anyone. And you have like this shift in thought of,
You can.
well, you can, but it's
What does my wall say?
Keep God first, right? So you have people that you can rely on,
Yeah.
right? It's a really small number.
No, you're true. It's true.
But there's this shift in thought process that no one was there for me when we were at the lowest, right?
Yeah.
Like physically, like your friends, like they want to support you, but there's nothing they can really do.
Yeah.
And then but you remember from day one where everyone was cheering for you. And it's just like, how is everyone cheering, but no one can do anything?
Yeah.
And I think that's when you have the shift in your thought process of business is business.
Yeah.
Because if no one's going to look out for me and I have to look out for myself, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So then at least my experience, when you say business is, it doesn't have to be.
Yep.
It could be different if people supported and people helped and people pushed and did things to bring you up. But eventually there's only so much people are able to do. And it all lands on you.
No, it's true. It's as we go into this journey, like you're going into this journey, you got to maintain your integrity.
Mm-hmm.
You got to still know who you are, because it does get there's so much emotion involved, and you get tired, and you start to like you actually start to dislike people that you liked because you're like, they're not even helping me or whatever. These thought processes go through your mind, right? But you have to know what is the purpose. So if you don't have a purpose behind what you're doing, you need to find a purpose.
Yeah.
Because the purpose is what drives us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And your purpose has to be aligned with your partner's purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you guys got two different purposes, you're almost in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's the same thing, like what I was saying is people that did turn their backs on me, right? A lot of people turned their back on me, family, friends, besides the people I knew in the industry. And I'm 15 years later, this stuff still happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And where I'll do work for a customer, I'll bend over backwards for them. I'll freaking do stuff for free, all this stuff. I'll go do their house for free, paint their house, whatever. And then they'll not fire me. I've never gotten fired, but like they will like not hire me for the next job because maybe the price is different, or maybe one of my guys got an argument with one of their guys, mm-hmm. or something like that. And I still can't be upset.
No.
And I'm hurt. Like, man, you didn't hire me. Like, I did all that work for that, lost money that last job. You can't even hire me for this job, right? You get hurt. But it's like, when you're saying business is business, that is the sense, but you have to know who you are, right? To get past that thought process and say, okay, what is my purpose? Well, my purpose is, for one, to leave a legacy for my family, for my children's children, right? To live life on purpose, to be able to teach people that they could do more and be more, right? To be able to service my customer and give them the best possible product there is out on the market, or create the best product, right? And so I think what happens is when we're going through a trial, is we forget what the purpose is, and then we start looking at the negative, the side effect of what you're doing, right? Because there's always a side effect to the medicine, right? To what you're taking. It makes you feel good here, but the side effects here, right? So having the business and going on your own, there's all those side effects, right? But the purpose is like the antidote, right? You don't feel the side effect, like, yeah, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm hurt. I want to cry. There's no money coming in. I'm spending all the money I have, whatever it is, right? I'm fighting with my partner. I'm fighting with my wife. I'm, not being there for my kids. I'm, people are laughing at me, whether they are or they aren't. You think they are, right? So like, it's like we have to know what's the purpose, find a passion, bring it together, package that up, and go out and sell yourself no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're, like you said, you're the one that's going to do it, right? But if you start to lose confidence in who you are and your abilities, right, those doors won't open. Your confidence will open the doors.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, I'll say, I've said it a lot of times, like, I was talking about God and opening doors. God will open a door for you, like, or anyone will open a door for you, but your lack of confidence cannot allow you to walk through the door. So you have to still have the confidence to walk through the door. You have to have the confidence in your own belief, what you're capable of doing, right? And then sometimes you have to drag people with you.
Yeah.
So now you have to have the internal fortitude, the strength to drag someone along with you while maintaining your confidence, while knowing what the purpose is, and maintaining that passion and that drive to go forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's easy to make an excuse, and it's easy to say, this person doesn't like me, or it's easy to say they're not doing this because of that. And in your head, you kind of go down this rabbit hole, like this dark hole of like, nobody wants me to win. Nobody wants me to be successful. And it's probably the furthest from the truth. Mm-hmm. What it comes down to is, if you believe in what you're doing, right? And for us, it's building a community where engineers aren't left behind, mm-hmm. right? Where I feel like we're no engineer left behind is kind of what I say to myself, right? And it's you're bringing them along and you're helping give them a better financial outcome for the work that they do. And then you talk to someone about it, you talk to an engineer, and then they get excited. How can I be a part of that? What can I do? It's like you realize that if you don't have, like you said, the confidence to keep pushing, you'll end up failing. But as long as you have the people around you that believe in it and you believe enough to continue, mm-hmm. the doors will open. Right?
They'll open.
And doors have opened, but you have to go through them, right?
You have to go through them.
But I think like you said, if you don't have the confidence to go through on your own, the door will just stay there.
It'll just stay there. You can sit there and look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear all those stories, like the people that had gold on their land or oil on their land, or all they had to do was walk 2 more feet or whatever, like dig 2 more feet, or mm-hmm. like, we have to do it. You know, today's a different time than it was when I started. And when I started was a different time than when someone else started, right? It's easier to make money today than when I started. That's for damn sure.
In the business that you're in?
In any business.
Okay.
But it's still hard, right? So I think I didn't make money for like the first 5-6 years, you know, but I was like, this is long term. I'm in this for the long run. Like, this is what I want. You know? This is what's going to afford my family, you know, everything. You know, they work with me. The tall Mexican kid that you seen downstairs, that was my daughter, my son. All my kids are probably downstairs right now.
Yeah, I saw kids sleeping.
Oh, those are not my kids.
Oh, okay.
They're on spring break. Okay. No, like, I have a 21-year-old here, a 20-year-old here. That they both work for the company. One goes to Grand Canyon University and works for the company.
Okay.
Gigi's 18. She goes to Grand Canyon University. She works for part-time for the company and part-time for the church. Mm-hmm. And then my youngest daughter, she comes after work. If my wife still comes back, mm-hmm. she'll come here, right? So I look at the kids and say, okay, that's it. Like, that's the legacy, you know? And then the podcast, like, I have to fund the podcast now, right? And that's legacy, like, to be able to give people something back through audio, video. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's legacy, you know, because we're making memories. You and I are making a memory right now of what we think and then what we believe. And it's going to be forever in time out there. Well, as soon as we post it, at least. Yeah.
And it's recorded on some of the best gear that a podcast could have.
If Antonio records it right.
Hopefully.
Burn. Anyways, listen, it's been fun, man. This is a long conversation, 2 hours almost.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I think we could have probably talked for another 4.
I can keep going.
No, it was good. Real good. I'm really glad you came on the show. You know, I wish you the best. We'll stay in contact, but if anyone needs to find you, what any kind of tech solutions or consulting in the tech world, right? You're in the tech world.
Yeah.
How can they find you?
Well, I don't have an Instagram. I don't have a Twitter. The best place to find me is on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Right. And I can give you that info. I don't think there's like an @ for me for LinkedIn.
They just look up your name, Fernando Rojas.
Yeah.
What's the and KBT?
KBT Solutions LLC.
So they could look up that as well.
Yeah. You could just type it in on Google.
Yeah.
KBT LLC, and it should be the first thing. That
Is there a
pops up.
reason why you don't have an Instagram?
I never saw, and this was years ago, I never saw the value in taking a picture of my food.
No, I didn't have one either. I have one. It's been a year now. I've had one.
Yeah,
Because of the podcast.
I think it's good to have. I'm kind of a very private person.
Yeah.
So like my kids, you'll never see a picture of them online. Like you'll never see their face. You know, not too many people know I have kids, right?
They do now.
They do now. Yeah. Most people know that I talk with on a regular basis, but I never really got into Instagram or TikTok. I mean,
we got to get you to open up, bro. Like people are not going to know who you are unless you tell them who you are. Yeah. The world is not going to know who Fernando Rojas is and KBT Solutions is unless you're on every camera saying, here's who I am. Yeah. I'm the best. Here's why I'm the best. I can do this, this, and this. Tomorrow, they're looking on again. Here I am again. Yeah. I'm the best. I'm Fernando. I'm the best. Like you have to do this, bro, if you want to grow. Like,
no, I agree. My wife, I think she set up a Instagram for the business. You just haven't used it.
Do it. Go on there. You got all the cameras, all that stuff. Put stuff on. Start posting stuff. You don't have to show your food, your burgers and stuff, bro. I don't show my burgers.
Yeah.
Wait, do I? No, I don't show food.
No.
Although there's a lot of recipes that I save
on there.
Yeah. But like I do show my family sometimes because, and the reason why I do that is I want to show people like that you can have a business and you know be with your family.
Yeah.
Like, you know, as you become an entrepreneur, you are an entrepreneur and you grow into this world is your visualization for younger entrepreneurs. And so you have to show them who you are, what you're about. Like, you know, I'm so blessed to have this. I'm blessed to have that. I'm blessed to be a part of this. You don't have to say blessed, you know, but you need to show people, bro. I guarantee when I started, so the first time I started using LinkedIn was like 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, instantly started growing. Then I was like, I'm not going to do it. Once I started getting on Instagram, I've met so many people. It's opened up the doors for like, I don't know how many real estate people I know now, exercise like gurus I know now. Mm-hmm. So now I'm building all these relationships. And then they'll text me, hey, I'm building this building, you know, can you help me?
Yeah.
You know, would you be interested in bidding this? Would you be interested? Can you help this guy? Can you help that? Like it just the doors open, bro. Yeah. Who are you?
Yeah. Well, with LinkedIn, it's been better, right?
Yeah.
You know, with posting on LinkedIn and people reaching out. So that's been great. But yeah, I think maybe Twitter's, I don't know.
Twitter's hard. It's good. We're on all of them. We just post the same stuff. Mm-hmm. But you got to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to know who you are and what you're about. This is what I'm about. This is what my business is. This is what we do. You can do little nuggets.
Yeah.
You know, just get out there, bro. Like, you don't have to do anything. I'm just giving you a suggestion.
No. I think we need to. I tell you an example. A guy that I used to work with told me, he says, Seinfeld's the best comedy that exists. But you don't know it if you're not up at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, he's like, if no one's awake at 2 a.m. watching Seinfeld, no one will know that Seinfeld was the best comedy ever. Oh. Yeah. So then you think to yourself, well, if no one knows who I am, how do you grow? They're not gonna
know to hire you. They're not gonna know what you do, what you're capable of doing.
Yeah.
That's what the whole thing is. Like the podcast was like kind of threefold. Like the world gets to see who I am, mm-hmm. whether they care or they don't care, right? They get to hear my story. They get to meet people like yourself, right? Learn your story, right? Mm-hmm. And then they get to learn like all the nuggets that we give out, the types of advice that you know, whether it's a business technique or whatever, right? And so for everyone watching, they get to learn like, put yourself out there.
Yeah.
If you want people to know who you are, put yourself out there.
Yeah.
It's scary because now people start to know who you are.
Yeah. And you don't know who they are.
You don't know who they are. And they judge you, right? Cool, whatever. or they'll say, well, you know, or maybe they'll go against you. They want to, you know, go after you, whatever it is, right? But it's part of the deal.
Yeah.
Like if you want to be successful and have a successful business and support your family the way I think you want to, or anybody that's out there, you have to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
In today's world.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. Because your competition is.
Yeah. And the hardest part is being comfortable in front of a camera.
You've been doing it for freaking 2 hours, bro.
Well, now I'm better at it.
This is easy for you.
Yeah. But when you're at home and you're recording a video for LinkedIn to do, it's the first few are the weirdest feeling.
Of course.
Now my wife just stands behind it and I talk to her.
Yeah.
So it works out a lot better. But yeah, I agree. I think she has the Instagram set up for the business. So
yeah, put yourself out there and just keep growing, keep learning, keep freaking fighting.
Yes.
That's the deal.
Get out there swinging.
I love it. Nice talking to you. Look them up. Follow us. Don't forget to like and subscribe all of our content. We have great people like Fernando. And man, I wish you the best.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Be blessed.